It's well worked, it's gently patinaed, it's seafoam green, and it's bathed in dashing chrome trim. Is there anything more American than a 1950s farm truck? I think not, and I've got one of the best of the bunch to my left. Hello and welcome to the Chevy 3200 Task Force era pickup. Yes, you join me rather fittingly in front of a wheat field with this. It's a 1956 long bed 3200 Chevy pickup, and we're going to have a proper look around this resplendent green machine, inside now, under the bonnet, in the back, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I think of this lovely little slice of American nostalgia. So let's crack on. Now, I feel fairly confident when I say the Americans have comfortably been the pickup truck kings for well over a century now. Chevrolet themselves have been making pickup trucks since 1918 and knocking it out the park every year since. A staple of American culture, the everyman's working vehicle, the family man, the fireman, the farmer, the cattleman, everyone wanted a pickup truck right back from the earlier 20th century. And it's exactly the same today. Americans buy and sell more pickup trucks than anyone else in the world, with Ford F-150s, one selling every 21 seconds. It's absolutely crazy the love these guys have for their pickups, so it's only natural that they make some rather good ones, and I think the one to my right is one of the best they ever did. Now for me, this is the stereotypical truck. This is the truck, the one you think of in American movies, on film sets, on farms, in the back of barns. It's this shape of pickup truck, and it's a Task Force era Chevy truck made from 1955 until 1959. These took over from the Advanced series of Chevy pickup trucks, which were a little bit smaller and rounder, and took things to the next level. They were a little bit more modern, they were squarer, they were slightly bigger, and the design overall was just a little bit more usable. The Task Force era trucks ran with what worked on the Advanced series trucks and took things up to the next level. As I just said, they were a lot more usable and a lot more livable than the previous gen of Chevy pickups. These were the first to have power assisted steering and power assisted brakes as standard, and to be offered with a factory optioned V8 engine. Denoted by their slightly squarer shape than the previous generation, the Task Force had a few different facelifts and tweaks here and there, which help you denote at which point in production they were made. The early trucks from 55 and 56, like this one, had this egg crate style grille. 1957 had a unique 1 year only, slightly more open grille, and after that they were rebranded into the Apache series of trucks, which had twin headlights and a different grille. That was for 58 and 59, at which point the C and K series of American trucks took over, but the Apache name ran over. At the rear, there were a few different tweaks as well. These were available like this, with a step on the side for easy access into the bed, known as the Stepside, or later in production, you could also get a straight, smooth, long, step-free bed, also known as a fleet side. At the rear, you could have a smaller center rear window, or this, a first, wraparound rear glass known as the big back window. These were badged up as either 3200s or 3100s, the 3100s being a shorter bed, and these, the 3200s, being known as the long bed with a longer truck bed. Inside had everything you needed to be the hard-working, discerning American man you'd see in the Chevrolet brochures. You had a lovely old bench seat for you and the family, or you and the farm workers, a heater, a few other odds and ends, and nothing more. Nice and simple, but nice and comfortable and nice and spacious. I've actually had up to 4 people in the bench of these, and there's still a little bit of room to play with. These are very spacious cabins. The seats, like all American things of the 1950s, are well padded out and are incredibly comfortable. Overall, though, it's exactly what you'd expect and nothing more. So, what was under the bonnet? What was on offer? Well, as I said earlier in the video, this was the first generation of Chevy trucks to be offered with a factory-fitted V8. Or you could go classic and have an inline-six. This particular truck has the latter, and it has the smallest of the bunch, the 235 cubic inch or 3.9 litre inline-six engine. This was pretty much standard fare among all Chevy passenger cars and light trucks of this era. Depending on what differential gearbox setup you had, these started at around 123 brake horsepower, but worked their way up to 140 brake horsepower. Gearboxes, you could either get a 3-speed column shift manual, which is what I've got in this truck, a 4-speed on the floor manual transmission, or an automatic if you wanted an easier life. V8s, well, you had actually quite a few on options, some different Chevy small blocks, and of course the Chevy big blocks, with the big 348 cubic inch or 5.7 litre being the big dog on the block. They started at around 250 brake horsepower and worked their way up to around 305 brake horsepower if you wanted some serious grunt in your work truck. Well, let's see what the big old farm trucks like to drive. I'm quite excited about this because I'm in the rather fortunate position that I've had 2 of these, but I've never had a column shift one, so let's see what it's like. use of column shift gearboxes. They can be rather troublesome, a bit vague, like mixing a very loose bowl of cake batter. But considering this is, well, 70 years old this year, the box is actually somewhat precise. The throws are rather long, but it's all very easy to use once you know where all three of the gears are. It is a very enjoyable thing to drive. It just feels such a lovely place to be. This bench seat, though it doesn't support you obviously, and you do really slide around, especially if you're a passenger and don't have this big old steering wheel to hold on to. It's just an enjoyable driving experience. It's big, it's wallowy, it's not particularly fast, but boy does it bring a smile to my face, even with this, the smallest 3.9 litre inline-six engine. The other thing that's very hard to ignore when you're driving a truck like this, especially here in Old Blighty, is the attention you get. It is like absolutely nothing else. It doesn't matter whether it's a modified one, a hot rod, or a bog standard old patinaed farm truck like this. Everyone wants to wave and smile at you. It's just such a lovely thing. Perhaps some of that's due to the Disney Pixar movie Cars, in which Tow Mater is based on a Task Force era Chevy pickup, but it's just an unassuming, unoffensive, happy and undeniably cool thing to see, and I must add, to drive. I must say it's on the more manoeuvrable side than I was expecting, especially this being a long bed truck. I threw it around quite a small little U-turn there, and yes, you've got to grapple at the wheel a little bit, but it's all very manageable. The column shift box, I'd actually give it a second look if you were considering one. I always tend to steer people away from the little 3-speed, but having spent a bit of time with it today, it's a good box, this one, especially compared to this little inline-six engine. It's not a fast thing, but that's never what it was meant to do. These long beds were made to carry heavy load over long periods of time, all day, every day in the beating sun, and that's still what it does 70 years down the line. It will sit at 55 very comfortably, and it gets up there with a lot of low-end torque very, very comfortably. Overall though, I'm really enjoying my time with this. I love these trucks, especially with the big back window. It's like driving around in a 1950s fish tank, and I absolutely love every minute of it. So then, the Task Force era Chevy truck, what do I think? Well, I've managed to hide my bias so far in this video, I would like to think, but I'm very fond of this thing. So fond, in fact, I've already had two of them. I have a 1956 big back window short bed at the moment, and before that I had a 1957 long bed. I really like the Task Force Chevy trucks. As I said, I think they are the stereotypical American truck. I think they look the best out of the bunch. They're better than the Advanced series or the later K and C series trucks. They look the best, they drive incredibly well, they have a nice selection of engines on offer. There's very little not to like here, in my opinion. I think they age incredibly well with a lovely patina on them, but they can be tuned up and made to be really something special if you want to go down the hot rod, pro street, pro touring side of things. Overall, these are something of a blank canvas. You really can take them in any direction, but I'm quite fond of them in this gently patinaed classic farm truck style, with maybe, like this one, some aftermarket wheels. Overall though, I really can't recommend a Task Force Chevy enough, and they seem to be going up in value, whether it's this one's or the heavier duty cab over engine or lower cab forward big serious ones. Especially here in Old Blighty, the American truck scene is growing and growing and growing, and I can see why. As I said, I've already had two of them, and I'd like to add another one to my roster, so maybe this one will be coming home with me. Overall though, the Task Force Chevys get a thumbs up from me. Thank you very much for watching the video review of this lovely 1950s slice of Americana. I do hope you've enjoyed. If you like this sort of thing, please check out our other video reviews.